Shangbin was horrified, asking if this was a joke. A member of an influential family asks him for patronage, and he dares to refuse? Shangbin asked him if he was serious. Clutching the clothes on his chest, the old man thought that he was an elder, the head of the education department, and his class was abandoned for a teacher with a 0 ranking. Had he refused for crying out loud, to him it was like a slap in the face. Elder Mo thought that he just wanted to change his opinion of him, and he pulls something like this. Or is he more capable than he thought? The shocked head of the family asked the teacher if he was refusing. He replied that he was, but he slyly thought that maybe Wang Tao didn't say that he had attacked him. But then the man said that he knew that he had acted rashly, unaware of his greatness, and disrespectful. He hoped that he did not take his son's foolishness and haste to heart. Just then, Chao Xiang shouted that Honorable Wang does not need to ask twice. Teacher Zhang is not refusing because of that incident. The man looked at him questioningly, and the man explained that Zhang Huang only has 3 ranks of martial arts, when his son is at the 4th rank. How can he train someone who is much more capable? He knows this, so he refuses. This is when Shangbin intervened in the conversation, confirming that the latter was right. Zhang is weaker than his son. If he were to agree, it would be ridiculous. Elder Shang told the man to think again. It was okay that his son had left his class, but in that case, one must find a teacher more powerful than the student himself. He is afraid that such an education would be problematic. The man reflected that although Wang Ying had received practical knowledge from Zhang Huang, she did not speak of his rank at all. Chao Xiang turned to Zhang Huang, smirking as he said that he didn't have that much strength to build up. His 3rd rank might surprise beginners, but not real warriors. Also with a smirk, Elder Shang added that Chao Xiang's words were pure truth. Zhang Huang himself had not even reached the 4th rank. So how would he be able to teach something that he had not experienced himself? Head Wang objected, saying that Wang Ying had told him that teacher Zhang had only stopped his son's sword with 2 fingers. This was impossible at the 3rd rank. Shangbin laughed, telling Honorable Wang that maybe his son had said that to protect Zhang's reputation. Chao Xiang added with a chuckle that the 4th rank gives a strength of more than 700 units. And if you add the strength and weight of the ball, it is impossible to do so at the 3rd rank, and even with 2 fingers. Respected Wang should realize that a teacher from the end of the teacher list cannot have such strength. But then Yanli exclaimed that he had seen it too. It was true. A surprised Shenbai looked at the guy. Think he reacted like that, is it really true? Elder Shang turned to Honorable Wang, saying that he was the head of a powerful family. Doesn't he himself find this story unbelievable? Even if he wants to raise Zhang's reputation to become his son's teacher, he shouldn't use such methods. Just then, a servant appeared in the doorway again and called out to the elder and said that there was a person who wanted to see teacher Zhang, and he had come here. The elder asked, "Who is there? Who is going on today?" Teacher Zhang is in overdemand. The frightened servant replied that it was King Jingnan's son, Bai Shen. The elder shouted at the servant, asking why isn't he here yet? Have him let him in right now. Elder Mo reflected that these days, King Jingnan is in the city to hand in reports on border defense, and his son is with him. But what is he doing in Hongting? Is he really looking for teacher Zhang? One is a weak teacher, the other is a martial arts master, the son of a powerful man. What could possibly connect them, Shenbai thought. Does he really know Bai Shen? This is a very powerful man. Just then, the prince walked into the will detector tower. Everyone except Zhang Huang bowed and greeted him, and the prince waved happily at Master Zhang. At him, Master Zhang asked, "What is he doing here?" Mr. Baishan basically walked up to him, bumped shoulders with him, saying with a smile that he would be leaving the city soon so he could not waste time. Therefore, he should learn as much as possible from the master to pass the test. Everyone present was surprised and annoyed. Shangbin wondered, how does Master Baishan know him that they communicate so well? Elder Shang wondered if he had misheard him. Calling the loser teacher a master? He immediately shouted at Zhang Huang, calling him insolent. How dare he speak to the royalty like that? Let him pay his respects immediately. He's a teacher, but he knows nothing about manners and etiquette. What a disgrace. And then with a smile, he told Mr. Baishan not to get angry at teacher Zhang. He's a low-level teacher and doesn't quite know what he's saying. And the prince frowned and shouted at the elder, asking who the hell is he? Let him get the hell out of here. Master Zhang is the equal of his mentor, Lu Shen. He dares to insult him. Does he want to die? The prince thought he was a lowly old man. How dare he say such a thing? The dumbfounded elder Shang thought about the fact that Mr. Baishan's father was the king of the south. And he was equal to his majesty, King Shenzhou. Did he say that Zhang Huang was equal in strength to such a person's mentor? Shangbin wondered, what the hell was going on here? Elder Mo didn't understand how come teacher Zhang was considered so strong. And Prince Baishan continued to shout that they had heard everything correctly. Teacher Zhang is a master of calligraphy and painting. His strength is 3 times the strength of the prince. And Zhang Huang grabbed his head and thought, how can he hide his strength now after something like this? The prince looked at Elder Shang angrily and asked, what did he say that he was stupid and in a disgrace? Is he looking for death? The elder started waving his hand saying that he dare not object. The prince replied that it was right not to dare. Let him believe it. He was lucky to be threatened by him and not Master Zhang. He hadn't managed to control the new power yet, so he would be dead. Elder Mo thought, if one were to believe Master. Is Master Zhang stronger than Elder Shang? But how could that be possible? Feeling embarrassed, Huang thought about the fact that he just wanted to sit quietly and not show his new strength. Now that was impossible. But then Head Huang told teacher Zhang that he urged him to accept his son Huang Tao as a disciple. Let him become his teacher. The prince pounced on the man, angrily asking who is he. He too is seeking the patronage of a teacher. Does he want to take away his place? To stop the argument from continuing, Huang intervened, saying okay. Huang Tao can come to his class tomorrow as a free listener. Later he would think about formal enrollment. Head Huang thanked the teacher. Elder Shang spurred out blood hearing Huang Tao being just a listener and not a disciple. Here the prince began to smile innocently, asking the master if there was anything else that needed to be taken care of. If so, he would help him. But a little later he would ask him for a drawing lesson. Huang replied that there was something else. The young teacher turned to Elder Shang, saying that now that the will detector has been passed, it's time to pay the bills. Tao Xiang began to speak, gradually reinforcing that Huang wouldn't succeed. Even if he lost the detector, the maximum he would face would be 100 god lashes. He simply wouldn't be able to have his teacher's license taken away from him. Zhang Huang looked him seriously in the eyes, asking him if it would definitely not work. The man replied that yes, it would. It cannot be taken away without a good reason. There was nothing to fault in his teaching. He didn't force his students to take risks. Even though it wasn't smooth, he passed the teaching test. Even the Teachers Guild couldn't take away his license for nothing. What would he do now? Huang looked at Elder Mo and asked if it was true. The man replied that it was absolute. It is impossible to get a license revoked for no apparent reason. A frustrated Huang asked that if that was the case, why didn't he say that when he made the bet? The man laughed awkwardly that frankly he thought Huang was going to lose. If he really wanted to take away someone's teaching license, there was only one option left. The man asked which one. The elder replied that the Grandmaster or Assistant Grandmaster should confirm the decision to revoke the license and report it to the Teachers Guild. Huang grabbed his head again, wondering where to find them. Whether it's the Grandmaster or his apprentice, it's a revered teaching title. Where would he get them from? Even if they showed up, how would he persuade them to pay attention to their wager? Just then, a servant appeared in the doorway again and told the elder that the lady who calls herself Huang Yu said she wanted to find teacher Zhang. The prince turned around happily, asking if Huang Yu was here too. Elder Mo answered him to let her in. The servant told her to pass, and the girl thanked him with a smile. Elder Mo greeted her. The girl looked at him but bowed as she said hello to Master Zhang. A shocked Elder Shan thought to himself, wasn't this the daughter of the head of the teachers' union, Master Huang? Didn't she become the assistant grandmaster at such a young age? The prince told Master Zhang that Yu was just taking the position of assistant grandmaster that they had just talked about. Bleeding tears, Elder Shang thought that Zhang Huang was sent by the heavens to kill him. He is the worst teacher ever, but the Wang family gave him his best student. Personally, Mr. Bison defended him as soon as a bad word was said against him. And when he suddenly needed the Grandmaster's help, she just showed up. How long would this theater continue? A shocked Chao Xiang asked to herself. Wasn't he the trash underfoot with 0 exam scores? How did he do this? Shang Bin thought, why does he know so many honorable people? Zhang Huang asked the girl, is she really the assistant grandmaster? The girl replied with a smile that she was just lucky to meet Teacher Lu in time to ask for help. Huang said then, that is just fine. Zhang Huang told the girl that teacher Chao Xiang had initiated a bet but was not honoring its terms. After listening to why this bet even came up, Huang Yu irritatedly said that the teacher harbored a petty grudge because of the unequal bet beforehand, and now wants to frame his colleague. If such a person remains a teacher sooner or later, he will completely tarnish Hong Ting's honor. She turned to Elder Mo, adding that she didn't think he was worthy of a teacher's license, so it was worth preparing a document to dismiss him now. A shocked Chao Xiang couldn't stay on his feet and fell to the floor. He thought about the fact that if you are a teacher, you are respected everywhere you go. But after being dismissed, this person would become more useless than trash. No one would show him any mercy. He worked so hard to get that license. He didn't even think he'd lose everything this way. All because he took a shot at a loser teacher. He's not gonna take it. He wouldn't give up. He pointed his fingers at Zhang Huan, telling him not to be so quick. He is still sitting with 0 points for the teacher exam. Also, the teacher guild would be interested to know that he drove his students crazy. After checking these facts, he would be fired as well. But Huang only poked his nose, calmly replying that it didn't matter. He was still the one who would still fly out first. These words were like a blade to Chao Xiang's heart. Looking at his comrade, Shang Bin told Zhang Huan not to relax. After taking Chao Xiang out of his way, a quiet life would definitely not be in his future. Elder Shang added that teacher Zhang's teaching is really questionable. He told Madame Huang and Elder Mo that what they had just heard was true. The one really drove his student crazy and got a 0 on the exam. He hoped that the Teachers Guild would be fair and remove this tumor on Hong Ting's teaching body as soon as possible. Zhang Huang put his head down gloomy. An Elder Mo said that if what they are saying is true, then they need to reconsider some facts. Huang clenched his teeth, thinking about how he had underestimated them. They know how to use the rules to their advantage too. It seems to be the same in all worlds. Sneaky people follow through. If you sit quietly, the administration doesn't care about your blunders. But you cross a particularly sticky person and you don't get away with it. If he gets fired, his situation won't be any better than Chao Xiang's. It looked like he wouldn't be able to hide his strength anymore. He coughed and wanted to say that he was actually. But Chun Bai interrupted him, telling him that she was finally clear now. He didn't need to justify himself anymore. Huang looked at the girl questioningly, and she turned to Elder Shang and loudly announced that he had said that Teacher Zhang had gotten 0 points in the exam. However, just recently, she and Elder Mo had asked several questions to Teacher Zhang. They were all from the list of questions for the teacher's exam. But not only did he answer everything, he also gave several solutions to various problems. Even she didn't know some of them. She was amazed at the level of his knowledge. How would they explain it? Prince Bison added that they also saw Master Zhang's awareness when he was visiting Master Lu, and also the strength. Yesterday, his strike was 49 ding, which corresponds to the maximum development of the 6th rank. Huang Yu added that Master Lu and her had seen this, and they could confirm. Hearing this, Chun Bai furrowed her eyebrows, and added that in that case, it was even more strange that Teacher Zhang had failed that test. How could he not get a single score? Head Huang said that Hong Tin teachers' exams are held behind closed doors by the Education Bureau, and are announced by a member of the Bureau as well. Everything is hidden from view. The conclusion is 1. The 3rd rank was given to Teacher Zhang, knowingly wrong. Teacher Chun pointed a finger at Elder Shan, saying that this meant that the Education Bureau had falsified Teacher Zhang's results. Elder Mo thought to himself that it was no wonder Teacher Zhang didn't say this. They were all colleagues. If it came out, the relationship between the teachers would be ruined, and so would Hong Ting's reputation. To prevent this from happening, he took the hard time of being a loser. He silently endured all the humiliations but never lost his wisdom as a teacher. Isn't that what it means to be a teacher? Isn't the one who is right like a mountain confronting all the injustices of the world? Head Wang, Shun Bai, and Elder Mo looked admiringly at Zhang Huan, then turned to Elder Shang with anger in their eyes. Head Wang said, Teacher Jiang suffered for the sake of friendship in the collective. Teacher Shun continued that the latter bore the time of humiliation without giving away their ignorance. The uncomprehending Elder Shan looked at them, thinking, what do you mean fake the results? What kind of ignorance is this? How did this even happen? Not expecting this turn of events, Huang thought that he actually just wanted to say that he was not accurately evaluated. How had the situation taken such a turn? Here Elder Shan started to defend himself, saying that to set him up, as they say, he needs help. Why would he, the head of the Education Bureau and a successful teacher, pay attention to a petty rookie? Elder Mo exclaimed that did he really need more proof? All this he could do for the sake of his grandson to become the best. Even Teacher Jiang has promising abilities and knowledge at such a young age. Of course he would stand out, but to prevent Teacher Jiang from overshadowing his grandson, he would simply sweep him out of the way. He had seen enough. The will detector, the argument, his overreaching. How blind he was since he had believed in Elder Shang all these years. Yang Li stated that he too could tell that the entire time they had been here, Elder Shan had deliberately accused Teacher Jiang of all sins. The prince replied that it was even obvious to someone who didn't know the entire situation. Huang Yu exclaimed, what kind of impudence is this? All for the sake of his grandson. Elder Shan was in a complete stupor, thinking about the fact that he actually didn't pay attention to that one before, only today turned against him. Would they believe him that he only knew him as a loser teacher back then? This is all because of Jiang Huan, he's only pretending to be an innocent sheep. Elder Shang's mouth spurted blood from his mouth from overexertion. Everyone disdainfully turned away from Elder Shan, and Elder Mo said that he was playing sick. Although he would crack his own skull if he did such a thing. Shinbai added that he has no shame or conscience. How can such a person lead the teaching staff of Hongting? Head Huang, what does he think? His license should be taken away too. A shocked Shangbin dejectedly asked how this happened. Tilting his head up, Elder Shang thought, what's going on? Was he so angry that he started vomiting blood? But at the same time, he was literally released. It was as if he had gotten rid of his constipation. But then he abruptly opened his eyes, remembering Jiang Huan. He turned to him and shouted that telling him that he had failed him in the exam was a smart move, because now he had no proof of his innocence. But how would he explain a student who had gone mad? He was under his patronage. What could he possibly say? Jiang Huang clenched his teeth, thinking that the student who went crazy was the former Zhang's merit. This could not be changed anymore. Elder Shang continued to shout at the guy that why didn't he just admit his guilt? He turned his head towards the door and called for Mr. Baiyu, the servant, telling him to go get Zhao Yanfeng from Mr. Lu Sen's class. Head Huang asked that isn't Lu Sen the best teacher in Hongting? Shinbai replied that yes, he is. Of all the teachers, he has the best chance of becoming an assistant grandmaster. Elder Mo asked, why did he take in a foreign student who had gone crazy? Meanwhile, Jiang Huang thought about the fact that according to his residual memories, this guy never appeared in class again after that incident. Past Jiang was not interested in his life, he was ashamed. But how did he get into Lu Sen's class? Elder Shang told him that Zhao Yanfeng was about to drop out, but he was accepted as a student by Lu Sen. After a few months of training with him, not only did Zhao get rid of his mental problems, but he also peaked at rank 1. Hearing this, Head Huang thought that if he could help his disciple recover so quickly and reach the peak of the second breath rank, then this Lu Sen was truly worthy of the title of the best. Just then the servant returned and told Elder Shang that Zhao Yanfeng was here. The guy with red hair walked inside and said hello. Elder Shang pointed his hand at Jiang Huang and asked the guy if he knew this person. Jiang Huang stared at the guy who had bags under his eyes on his face. He disdainfully replied that it was his former teacher. The elder said that he knew that he had driven him crazy while teaching him. Is that true? The boy replied that it was. Fortunately, Lu Sen's teacher helped him recover, otherwise he would have said goodbye to his future as a fighter. With a smirk, Elder Shang turned to Miss Huang and Elder Mo, saying that they had heard everything themselves. He suggested that they forget about the teacher's exam. Sooner or later everyone would find out about it, and it couldn't be untrue the student had confirmed everything before their eyes. Elder Mo told him he could go ahead. Making your student mad is enough reason to dismiss a teacher. Huang Yu was upset, and Elder Shang asked Teacher Jiang why is he silent. If he was wrong somewhere he could defend himself, but his former students still had the last word. To this, Jiang Huang slowly raised his hand and scratched his ear, calmly asking why. What could he possibly say? It was true his disciple had gone crazy. Elder Shang started to say that he knew that he would object, but still Zhao Yanfeng. But then he looked at Huang and asked in surprise, is he really admitting it? He thought that he was too quick to admit it. Is he up to something again? Jiang Huang spread his hands that of course he would admit it. He really did it. Why make excuses? Elder Shang shouted again, meaning that it was true. He addressed everyone present that this teacher really did drive his disciple to madness. He is not even ashamed. Such a person does not deserve to be a teacher. Jiang Huang started to approach the elder, saying that enough is enough. He is already repeating himself. At his age you can't be so worried or you might have a heart attack. The man shouted that it was him and his whole family who should worry, and Huang ignored him, spritzing Zhao Yanfeng that he was now studying under teacher Lu Sen, right? He should have made great progress. Let him show him a few strokes. The guy looked at him questioningly, thinking about the fact that right now, everyone was only thinking about the fact that he had driven him crazy. Why would he need his punches? But then the agitated Huang Yu told Master Jiang that she thought he had better discuss the details of his former disciple's madness. Maybe it wasn't caused by his training method. The boy said that he later asked Teacher Lu Sen about the practice that Teacher Jiang had taught him. Teacher Lu confirmed that this method was not only wrong, but could also drive him crazy. Huang seriously told him, enough is enough. Let him show what he has learned recently. Huang Yu told the guy to do as Master Jiang says, let him show them a few strokes. The guy obeyed and showed a few techniques. Elder Mo noted that this guy had excellent control over his strength despite his age. And Huang added that he was also quite good at martial arts. Looking obliquely at Jiang Huang, Elder Shan thought that Lu Sen had eliminated the threat of this disciple going crazy. What did he want to see? But then he noticed that Huang's eyes were closed and thought that he himself asked to hit him. But he doesn't even look. Who does that anyway? Xiao Yunfeng stopped and asked if that was enough. Jiang Huang opened his eyes and with a slight smile replied that yes it was. Elder Shan rather announced that since he himself had confessed they wouldn't waste any time. They have the proof in the confession. But Huang put a finger up telling him to take his time. Since everyone wants to hear an explanation from him, he is willing to tell. In fact, he had driven the guy crazy on purpose. Everyone in the tower was surprised. After recovering from his shock, Elder Shan pointed his hand at Teacher Jiang and suggested that everyone should recognize that Teacher Jiang was intentionally putting his students in danger by bullying them. He turned to Madame Huang and Elder Mo, saying that he thought they were clear now. The girl looked sadly at Master Jiang, thinking that she really wanted to help him, but she couldn't. And Zhao Yunfeng became gloomy and then told the teacher that he did not understand what he had done to him. He shouted asking did he really want to mess with him so badly. He was his student and he had purposely given him the wrong methodology, robbed him of his sanity, but for what? One side grabbed his head and said the guy still didn't get it. The guy got even more angry, asking what exactly he didn't understand. And thought to himself, what was he doing trying to drive him crazy again? What was it that he didn't understand? The taste of death? Huang turned to the others asking if they didn't see it either. Elder Mo looked at the guy in surprise, thinking about the fact that he had driven him crazy. What they should have seen. How did he destroy it? Huang seriously said that since none of them saw, he would explain. He pointed his hand at the guy and said that this disciple had an 8-point stiffness. Huang Yu furrowed her eyebrows and thought, this isn't even a body type, but a disease. In such people, the passageways near the acupuncture points are constricted, preventing the passage of qi energy. Even if such people train, they usually don't rise above the first rank. The second rank among such patients is extremely rare. Elder Mo asked, is Teacher Zhang right in his assumption? The boy shockingly asked, does he really have an 8-point stiffness? That can't be the case. He doesn't feel any obstacles during his training. He can't have congenital point stiffness. Huang asked him if he really does not feel obstacles. Then let him answer, did he encounter difficulties in gathering qi before he went crazy? Every time he tried to gather energy, it was as if his body was torn apart, right? The guy's eyes rounded and he asked, how did he know? The people present thought, is it really true? But Elder Shan exclaimed that it didn't make sense, even if Zhao Yanfeng really did have an innate stiffness of points. What did that have to do with the one that drove him crazy? Huang seriously asked, what did it have to do with? He asked permission to ask, what characterizes a person who has gone mad? Elder Shan incomprehensibly replied that the energy bursts out of the body, it cannot be controlled, and the person falls into madness. Then he abruptly realized and asked if he was using this state on purpose to break the blocks around his acupuncture points, to make the passage for qi free. Huang Yu asked, was this even possible, to use the uncontrollability of the energy to make it break down the blockages on its own? Elder Mo replied that if that was true, it was too risky, but in theory, it's a good way to treat it. Huang turned to the guy, saying that asking him now that he had made some progress, did he still have that feeling like his body was being torn apart when he was collecting qi? The guy recalled that every time he practiced, his body would ache terribly. But when the state of madness passed, it stopped. He thought that it was because of Lu Sen's teaching methodology. Could it really be Teacher Zhang? He answered him that no, this feeling was no longer there. Zhang Huang began to say that the power in the body of the madman was so strong that it was released from the body in a large stream, but still unable to completely break down the barriers. But it slowed down the aggravation of the situation, allowing the qi energy to flow more or less calmly. Then he let it run amok to achieve that effect. He planned further steps that would smooth out the peculiarities of his body and help it develop faster. But not only did he leave without saying goodbye, he also started to consider him an enemy. Elder Shan shouted that he was lying. It was impossible. Besides, if it was true, he just needed to tell his disciple what he was going to do so he wouldn't leave him. Huang replied that if the latter knew about his uncontrolled state, it would no longer be so. If he told him his plans, he would definitely refuse. Elder Shan exclaimed that no matter how sweetly he lied, he couldn't believe that he had thought it through so well. Huang stated that they don't have to believe him. He knows it's shocking. As he just saw, the guy is at the peak of the first rank. There's only a step left to move up to second. With his learning pace, how soon does he think he will reach rank 2? Xiao Yunfeng replied that Teacher Lu said that if he worked hard, he would reach rank 2 in as little as 6 months. Head Huang said that the guy has average talent, so such a short time is already an achievement. Shinbai agreed with him, adding that Teacher Lu is a true master. But Huang chuckled and said that it was too long. Zhang Huang claimed that he would help a guy advance to the next rank in half an hour. No one believed him. Ask what? Is such a thing possible? Elder Mo said that it would also be hard for him to do it in half a year, and the teacher is talking about half an hour. Elder Shan seriously said that training is not hunger. One meal won't solve the problem. What matters here is time and stability. It can't be done without a huge investment of time. What half an hour? Huang confidently asked. They don't believe him, don't they? Xiao Yunfeng lowered his head, thinking about the fact that he had put him into a state of madness to cure the innate stiffness of the points. Is it possible that he wants to help him for nothing? He doesn't think it's possible. But then Huang walked over to him and put his hand on his shoulder, calmly saying that he didn't blame him for not believing him. After all, he was mad for his advice. But if he was careful, he'd spend a long 6 months doing it. The choice is his. The boy thought that the teacher had correctly identified his diagnosis. But reaching rank 2 in half an hour was like a dream. But what if he was telling the truth? The guy confidently approached Teacher Zhang, saying that he wanted to give it a try. Huang smiled and said that he promised him that he wouldn't regret it. Huang tells the guy to sit on his knees and clear his mind. He will use silver needles to widen the passages of qi near his points. All he would have to do is step up to a new rank. The boy sat down on the floor and closed his eyes. Zhang Huang took out a blue needle that glowed with his qi energy. He stuck it into the guy's head. A short moment later, there was a breakthrough to the initial level of the second rank Dantian. Xiao Yunfeng opened his eyes and looked at his hands. He couldn't believe that in just an instant, he was at the second rank. Everyone looked at it in surprise, wondering if it was really to the next rank. In just an instant, he had advanced to the next rank. This wasn't a dream. Just by using a needle, he had transferred a disciple to the next rank. The guy immediately kneeled down and started bowing to the floor in front of the teacher, thanking him. The guy thought about how he was so rude and ignorant. How could he leave Teacher Zhang for Teacher Lucen? He hoped he would have the opportunity to return. Head Huang thought about the fact that it had cost him himself a huge effort to cross the first rank boundary, and this boy had made it so easy. So why did this teacher only meet him now? The man shouted to Teacher Zhang that he knew his son had an average talent, but if he accepted him, he would become his own disciple. The prince looked at the man irritably, asking if he had a conscience. Does he want to get 2 in 1? He then turned to Master Zhang, telling him to ignore him. Let him better pay attention to the prince. He is already at the peak of the 5th rank and he really wants to be his disciple. If he is embarrassed by his title, he will refuse it. Feeling awkward and annoyed, Huang suggested that we talk about it later. He then turned to Zhao Yunfeng, asking if he still thought he had acted rashly when he drove him crazy. The boy replied that he had only wanted to help him, and he had been so foolish. He asked the teacher to forgive him. Trailing off, Huang turned to Elder Shan, asking if he had anything to say. But the old man was silent and trembling, thinking that there was no way he could justify himself in that situation with the test, and he also proved that he had driven his student crazy for good. The confused Elder Shan tried to say something, but Elder Mo sternly told him that he didn't need to say anything else. He would give the verdict right now. Teacher Chao Xiang has deliberately slandered his colleague. He will be suspended from teaching and sentenced to 100 God strokes. Shang Bin tried to frame his colleague, so he will also lose his license until the trial. As for Elder Shan, not only did he not help the young teacher, but also hindered him on the difficult path of teaching. He even resorted to falsifying the exam results, so he is removed from his position as the school principal and loses his status as an elder before the trial as well. Elder Shan couldn't stay on his feet and collapsed on the floor, thinking that as principal he resorted to falsifying the results. Interfered in the path of teaching? It's all over because of his grandson's whim. And Elder Mo apologized to Teacher Zhang for bothering him today. It's the administration's fault that there are such rascals among them. Huang awkwardly scratched the back of his head and replied that it was fine. He thought there were people like that in every group. Elder Mo added that he would ask the guild to make an objective judgment and would definitely let him know. Coming out of the wool detector tower, the prince told Teacher Zhang that they would go with him, time to learn drawing. Zhang Huang summarized aloud, saying that if it wasn't for the timely arrival of the Wang clan head by Sen and Huang Yu, this conflict would have dragged on for a long time. As for Zhao Yanfeng, he had helped him advance to the second rank, so he had made it up to him. From now on he shouldn't be on the verge of being fired. Zhang Huang walked down the street, with Prince Bison and Huang Yu following behind him. He thought about the fact that these two should have gone back to their homes. Why were they following him? Today he realized that the only way to always be in good standing was to become a famous teacher, that is a grandmaster. But before that, one must become a grandmaster's apprentice. He turned to Miss Huang and asked how he could become a grandmaster's apprentice. The girl smilingly replied that there was no need to take any tests or trials to achieve it. It was all about luck. If he is noticed and appreciated by some grandmaster, he may well call him to become his apprentice. Huang asked with surprise, "What about her bookstore?" The girl replied that although she was fortunate enough to be appraised by Master Lu, she lacked worldly experience, so she obeyed his instructions. He told her to choose a crowded place, open a small store and develop herself, sharpen her character and observe the world and society. Zhang Huang then asked what exactly was Master Lucian's test. Why did he tell them to learn from him specifically? But this, the prince replied that Master Lucian has a painting in Master Lucian's collection called Lilac Ink Canvas. They both want to get it, so the master made a competition out of it. Zhang Huang had a serious face and thought to himself, is this a painting painted by Master Mo Qianqi himself? But they don't think anything of painting. Why would they need it? As if reading his thoughts, Huang Yu replied that they are not really big connoisseurs. So it's just a gift. Huang didn't know what she meant, but the prince added with a smile that they both liked it, but the master said he would give it to the first person to pass his test, which he thought was to evaluate painting and calligraphy. The girl told Master Zhang that he knew so much about painting and calligraphy, and continued that could he teach them such accurate criticism as he had? The girl added that they would be very grateful. Zhang Huang was in a stupor because he realized that he could tell the flaws thanks to the Heaven's Way library, but he doesn't know anything about painting. How should he teach them? Hongtin Academy, Teacher Lucian's classroom. His building was painted red and decorated with a large number of carved figures. Watching the students from the balcony, an elderly man with white hair and the same beard said that this was what people were talking about. That one is a real teacher, and many students are proud of his patronage. Most of the students are willing to do a lot to get into his class. The guy with dark blue hair replied with a smile that Thoth is flattering him. He's just doing what he has to do, putting his best into the next generation. The man told him that if he thinks so, he should just look at the performance of his students. Out of the top 100 students in the entrance exam, more than 70 joined him. The guy, whose eyes were golden, replied that he was honored to give knowledge to gifted students. The guy then turned to Elder Hong Hao, saying that the latter was a very busy man, so why did he turn to him? Is there anything he can do to help him? He would do whatever he needed to do. The elder replied with a smile that he actually did have a matter for him. He and his father were old friends. The boy has grown up in front of him. He knows that the guy's an honest man, so he thinks he will help him. The guy seriously told the elder not to mention his father, he's such a nerd. Then he asked, "What's the matter?" At this question, the elder frowned his eyebrows and said Zhang Huang's name. Lucen asked the elder, was he really talking about the one who drove his student crazy? And he thought about how a guy who didn't score a single point in the exam could cross the elder's path. The man replied to the guy that he was talking about him specifically. In his mind, after what Huang had arranged in his restaurant, the business was not profitable at all. If not for his status, he would have taught him a lesson himself. Lucen said with a chuckle that the man was just a loser teacher. Sooner or later he would be fired. What kind of problem could there be with him? The old man replied that the man was really just a lowlife. He had heard that the administration had given him an ultimatum. He would be fired if he didn't find any students. Therefore he would like to ask him to poach his students into his class. Guy looked at the elder questioningly, and the elder laughed and replied that as Hong Ting's best teacher, it would be easy for him to do so. It would be problematic to teach a teacher with his wards, but if he didn't have any students, things would become easier. Lucen agreed with this, and the elder continued that there was no need to hesitate. Had he forgotten Zhao Yunfeng's experience, if they let this Zhang continue to teach students, they would definitely repeat the same mistake. Lucen replied that it was fine. He will announce right today that he is interested in his students. The elder said with a smile that he would not be indebted. Be sure to treat him to a meal at your restaurant. Just then one student who had yellow hair and green eyes walked up to them. He bowed to the teacher and the teacher asked Wang Yan what was the matter. The elder also looked at the student thinking, isn't this the grandson of the Wang clan head? The guy awkwardly wanted to say something, and Lucen asked him with a smile. Is there a problem with his training? He could share with him. The elder added with a smile that Teacher Lu was the most capable and famous teacher in Hongting. He will answer any question he has, so don't let him be timid. The boy replied then he would speak up. He got down on one knee and declared that he wanted to leave his class. He hoped that Teacher Lu would be able to help. But Lucen exclaimed in surprise, does he really want to leave the class? He thought about the fact that people want to get to him more than anything else in the world, but the guy just leaves. He asked the kid more calmly already if something was wrong, maybe someone was threatening him. The guy got to his feet and replied that no, it was his initiative, and the eyes of his clan also agreed. Lucen furrowed his brows thinking, what's wrong with this family? And he told the guy, he knows that if he leaves his class, no teacher would dare to take him, right? Lucen got down on one knee again and said that if he left his class, he would have the opportunity to listen to Teacher Zhang's lectures. He asked for his request to be honored. Lucen was shocked by what he heard and thought about the fact that he wanted to leave him. To be a free listener from Zhang. If he leaves him, he won't be able to listen to his lectures as well. Surely he understands this. Elder Han Hao was also surprised and thought, isn't Zhang the worst teacher in the academy? His reputation is the same. Why is he leaving? Lu Sun was able to pull himself together and sternly ask the guy, does he know that Zhang's student through his fault once went crazy? Does he want to learn from such a person? Just then, Zhao Yanfeng appeared beside them. Lu Sun told him that he was very timely. Wang Yan wants to leave his class and go to Teacher Zhang. Let him tell him about the time he was studying with Teacher Zhang so that he would realize that it was a stupid decision. But at this moment, Zhao Yanfeng fell to his knees and told the teacher that he would like the same thing Wang Yan is asking for. He too wants to go as a free listener to Teacher Zhang. Surprised by this, Lu Sun asked if he had forgotten that he had driven him crazy. He used to be angry with him, but the boy replied that Mr. Zhang had been very kind to him and he regretted leaving without saying goodbye last time. He hoped that Teacher Lu would honor his request. Lu Sun was starting to get angry, not understanding what the hell. Once when is madness a good favor? Not saying goodbye? Yeah, he was just fleeing a sinking ship and it was the right thing to do. Regrets? When he had cursed him out in the past, he didn't see regret in his eyes. But holding himself back, Lu Sun told them that well, since it was their considered decision, he was releasing the two of them. The boys thanked him at the same time and then looked at each other, saying how great it was that they would be able to attend his lectures. Lu Sun was about to chase them out of his class, but when he turned around, the guys had already left. He exclaimed, asking, "Where are they?" They ran away so fast, he didn't even have time to say anything. He got angry and said that Zhang Huan didn't know what he had gotten himself into. He had provoked him himself. He called out loudly to Zhu Hong. A dark male figure appeared not far away from them and greeted Teacher Lu. Lu Sun told the kid that he would go to Teacher Zhang and give him the letter declaring war. He had him tell him that in half a month at the freshman competition, he would challenge him for a teacher's evaluation. Looking at the teacher, Elder Han Hao asked, "Is it really the freshman competition?" But Lu Sun continued to be angry, saying how dare he poach his students. If he is so bold, he should be responsible for his actions. The elder asked him if he really wanted to do a teacher evaluation. The guy replied that yes, moreover, their students would be on the line. The one would lose and he would gather them back. Lu Sun thought about the fact that in the freshman competition, he was going to catch the Grandmaster's attention to become his assistant. Now that students are dropping him just to be in his classes, wouldn't he become a laughingstock? He can't lose his face at all costs. In Zhang Huan's class, one of the students asked if Teacher Zhang would be alright. Zhao Yan, who was standing in the center of the class with her arms crossed, told them not to worry. During the teacher's lessons, they all realized that he is a genius. Wang Yin said she was sure that Yang Li thought so too. But then someone kicked open the wooden door of their classroom. A red-haired guy with thick hair appeared on the doorstep and sarcastically addressed the much-respected Zhang Huan. But noticing that he was absent, he asked the students where their teacher was. He needs him. All four of them immediately went out into the courtyard, and Yuan Dao loudly asked, "Who is he? How dare he come into someone else's classroom and ruin it?" But Zhao Yao told him to keep his cool. "This is Zhu Hong, who came fourth in the entrance exam." The red-haired man said that he was so pleased that they recognized him. He then took out an envelope and added that it was a letter that his teacher Lu Sun was calling their teacher for a teacher evaluation in half a month for the freshman competition. A surprised Zhao Yao thought about the fact that Lu Sun is the most famous teacher in the academy. He has many students, but how can he challenge Teacher Zhang? Zhu Hong said that their teacher made Teacher Lu Sun angry. So this is a declaration of war. He threw an envelope in their direction for them to give it to him later. If he dared not accept the challenge, let him admit defeat and apologize in Teacher Lu's classroom. Turning around and walking away, he said that he hoped the one would be ashamed. But then Xingyang told him to stop, adding that he destroyed the door of their classroom as well. Xingyang insulted the teacher and spoke about him without the slightest respect. He would have to apologize. Zhu Hong stopped and without turning around asked, did the man really want him to apologize? In the next instant, he attacked the guy with a kick to the head, causing him to fly off to the side. Zhu Hong said that he wasn't going to do that in front of them. Xiao Yao shouted that he had gone too far. She wanted to hit him with her hand, but he was quicker to react and kicked her. Yuan Dao wanted to rush towards the girl, but the redhead was at his side and asked, "Where is he looking?" "He is here." After that, he kicked the guy in the chin with his foot. Wang Yin ran to her friend asking if she was okay, but Zhu Hong was next to her, asking how her family even recognized this scum as a teacher. He wanted to attack her, but Xingyang was beside him and asked how dare he talk about their teacher like that. He wanted to hit him in the face with his fist, but he managed to block the blow with his foot. Zhu Hong told him that he seemed to lack training. He offered to fill in his gaps and started throwing a lot of punches at the guy, and the last punch sent him flying quite far away. The redhead looked at the beaten students and said with a chuckle that it was only a small lesson. Have them tell their teacher to apologize immediately if they chicken out, otherwise? But then a voice behind his back asked, otherwise what? Walking into his courtyard area, a gloomy Zhang Huang told the guy that he wasn't done. Otherwise what? Zhu Hong replied that otherwise let them wait for their teacher's defeat in this assessment. Approaching Yuan Dao, Huang replied to him that victory or defeat is not for him to judge. Let him go back and tell his teacher that he accepts his challenge. Clenching his teeth in anger, Huang thought about how it was so difficult to see off by Sen and Huang Yu, but he didn't expect this from Lu Sen. I mean, he has hundreds of disciples, and just because of one he wants to cause such a commotion? As they left, Zhu Hong smirked and wished them good luck. Yuan Dao told the teacher that he talked about him without respect, ruined the class and beat them up. If they let him off like that, they would admit that they were not capable of anything. Zhu Hong turned to him and asked if he wanted more. They are the disciples of the worst teacher, and it doesn't matter here whether they have a door or not. They want to teach him a lesson? Let them not dream of it. If they want to see the insignificance of their position once more, let him try. Huang seriously asked his disciple if he wanted to teach him a lesson. Yuan Dao asked hopefully, does he have a chance? Huang replied that of course, he is the weakest but the most capable, so he will show him a technique that he can use to make this disciple regret his words. Just don't let him overdo it. Also let him make sure it's a fair fight, let him not overdo it. The other disciples looked at their teacher in surprise. At this, Zhu Hong laughed and asked, does he really want to send this pig-like man knocking him out the door? Alright, learning to defeat him, he would not only pay the expenses but also give this man 1,000 gold pieces. Huang immediately stood up and looked at the guy, asking if it was definitely 1,000 gold to the winner, to which the redhead replied that of course, but these brats need to train for at least 10 years to have a chance to win. Huang said to the disciples with a smile, this is your opportunity to earn, Yuan Dao will be the first, let him remember to hit carefully, let him not worry, he will show him 3 simple steps with which he will win. Zhu Hong narcissistically asked right before the battle, is he really going to learn the punches? He is afraid they are a little late, but he was ignored by everyone, and Huang summoned the other disciples to him, saying that maybe in the future it would bring victory to them as well. Yuan Dao looked at the teacher doubtfully, but Yan Li told him that he should believe the teacher, since the man said that he would win, then it would be so. After saying that, the guy thought about the fact that he was already beaten. It's okay if he gets beaten some more, in any case, he's thick-skinned. He confidently told the teacher that it was fine, and the man looking at his students told them to be sure to take note of this technique. He began to show and said that this would be the first step. Left hand forward, fingers spread, then the second step, move the left foot to the right. The third step is a right hand punch. The students were shocked and did not know what to say. Yuan Dao asked, is that all? He thought to himself that teacher Zhang must be joking, this is just an ordinary punch. And it's also a low-level punch. Zhu Hong frowned, thinking that to teach such a terrible strike even in front of the opponent. He can actually see everything. Zhang Huang patted the shoulder of the gloomy Yuan Dao and told him with a smile that these steps were simple. So he would be able to repeat them. If he uses them correctly, he will easily win. The guy thought about the fact that he knows he is weak, but this technique is even weaker than him, but no matter. He's just going to do it. He headed towards his opponent and the opponent asked in response, did he really want to fight him? To which Yuan Dao replied that he did. Zhu Hong rushed forward, saying that he didn't realize what he was going for. Then suddenly Yuan Dao heard the teacher's voice in his head telling him to use the 3 steps he had shown him just now, but in the first 2. Let him change his hands and feet, instead of the left hand, the right hand, also with the foot. The boy realized that this was a cheat connection. The teacher went on to tell him that the last movements would remain the same, but let him strike with 1 finger and exactly 3 inches lower, not higher or lower, exactly 3 inches. Moving closer to his opponent and noticing that he extended his arm, Zhu Hong thought, does this guy want to apply the move he learned? It's worse for him, and Yuan Dao thought about trusting the teacher. Let's go. That's when Zhu Hong realized that the last move was not a kick. Huang's disciple extended 2 fingers and stabbed his opponent's side with them. From the pain that pierced through him, Zhu Hong coughed up blood and thought, how did he know about his vital point? He fell to the ground and Yuan Dao stood over him and chuckled, asking what was he going to do now. The redhead started telling him to stop, to wait. Zhu Hong looked shocked and frightened at Yuan Dao, who continued to beat him up. A surprised Xing Yang asked his classmates how he suddenly became so strong. Yang Li replied as he said, their teacher is always right. Xing Huang told his student that he did well, but he told him to be gentler. No need to kill him. Yuan Dao listened to the teacher and stopped. Zhu Hong with a swollen face disbelievingly said that he was defeated by such a simple blow. Yuan Dao turned to him and asked, what is wrong with simplicity? Does he want to try out another punch on himself? Xing Huang told Yuan Dao that he needed to rest now, and then there would be the next one. He called out to Xing Yang, telling him to try out his skills. He has a good opportunity to practice. Yang Li started to encourage his friend Zhu Hong, who was just getting to his feet, thought to himself, didn't he want to let him go? Why sick someone else on him? He then got angry, thinking that this guy couldn't fend off any of his punches, so he would definitely win this one. As the fat guy showed him, if he followed those 3 steps he'd be fine. He needs to beat him, otherwise he wouldn't be able to explain to the teacher how he was beaten up by those weaklings. After these thoughts he stood up in a stance and told his new opponent to attack. Xing Yang stepped forward and heard his teacher's voice in his head through the Qi link, telling him that Yuan Dao's 3rd strike was the universal technique against this opponent. Let him do the rest at his own discretion. Thanking the teacher in his mind, he rushed to attack. Zhu Hong was thinking at this moment that this loser was really serious. He intercepted one of the guy's hands and told him that he knew he would do this. In his mind he didn't fall for the same trick twice. But at this moment Xing Yang with his other hand hit his cheekbone with his fist. Zhu Hong realized that it was a trick. He only pretended that he was going to use those 3 steps. He wanted to attack his opponent with his fist in response. But Xing Yang blocked his punch with his hand and hit the guy in the side with his other hand. The guy fell to the ground holding his side. He said, they are just scoundrels. They are constantly aiming at his vital point. Xing Yang replied that in a fight there is no difference in winning, but if he so desired he would no longer touch his vital point. After saying that, he started beating his face. Zhu Hong thought about the fact that he said he wouldn't hit there again. But hitting his face was no better. Wouldn't it be fair to give him a break? He's either hitting a vital point or his face. Where's the justice? Where is it? This kind of battle makes no sense at all. Unable to stand it, Zhu Hong tells him to stop. He admits defeat. Xing Yang's hand hovered in the air and he asked frustratedly why so fast, and the red-haired man thought, damn him, he'll just die if he keeps trying. Meanwhile, Zhang Huang told Zhao Yao to give it a try. The girl took a few tentative steps but then happily started beating up the redhead. And the teacher looked at Wang Yin and Yang Li, telling them to get ready after Zhao Yao finished, after each defeated Zhu Hong. Yuan Dao told him that he owed each of them 1,000 gold, plus the door fee, a total of 10,000. Lying on his back on the ground, Zhu Hong, whose face had become even more puffy, inarticulately asked, "Where did this amount come from?" "He only owed each of them 1,000, Yuan Dao interjected. "What did he say?" "He didn't really understand it. Anyway, if that one can't do math, he'll give him a hint. 1,000 to each of them plus the price of the door. They don't have such an expensive door. Only 5,000, so that adds up to 10,000, but of course if he doesn't want to pay." The guy turned to his teacher and asked if he could use the 4th place student in the entrance exam as a sparring partner in return for compensation for the door. Huang answered him that of course. That door was very dear to him, let him try his best. Zhu Hong immediately replied that he would pay. Did he have a choice? Hong Tin. Lu Sen's class, Elder Hong Hao asked Lu Sen if he thought Zhang Huang would accept his challenge. The teacher replied that he didn't care if he accepted or refused. If he left this situation, how would he be able to succeed in Hong Tin? The elder laughed and said that he was right. Just then Zhu Hong appeared beside them and fell down in front of the teacher and said hello. The teacher didn't recognize him. But when the guy said who he was, the man looked at him in surprise, asking him that he had just asked him to hand him a letter. What's wrong with him? The guy replied that he was beaten up. Lu Sen took his fist and asked that did Teacher Zhang, despite his status, raise his hand on him, but this guy replied that it was his students. Teacher Zhang didn't touch him. Lu Sen was even more surprised as he asked, did he really mean Zhao Yao, Zhang Yang and the others? Were they able to defeat him? Even considering their not bad ranking, there was no way this could happen. He was paying special attention to him, the one about to move to a new rank. Even if they teamed up, they wouldn't stand a chance against him. The guy admitted that this was the case from the beginning. But then Teacher Zhang came in. He showed them a 3-step technique and they got the strength to defeat him, and Yuan Dao was the first to do so. Lu Sen became very upset, replying that it seemed like they had found out about his vital point. The 3 steps were just a cover to distract him. The teacher reflected on the fact that even if you know about the enemy's life point, it doesn't guarantee your victory. Combat is a much more complex system. Reaction speed and adapting to the enemy is very important. But if they are talking about fighters of the same level, information about the enemy's vital point could be crucial. Lu Sen added that this was clearly not thought up by the students themselves. This Teacher Zhang is not that simple. He thought that competing with him wouldn't require much effort. But now it seems that he is worth paying attention to. But it doesn't matter. He will help the guy break through to a new rank and he will become even stronger. His life point would shift and he would have a chance for revenge. The guy thanked his teacher sincerely. Lu Sen then turned to Elder Hong asking if he wasn't being nice to Elder Shan. It would be easier to go to the Education Bureau to deal with this loser. But this elder replied with a smile that it wasn't really in the power of the Education Bureau. They can't kick out a teacher just like that. If they try to do that, Teacher Zhang might tell the teachers about it, and why would they want unnecessary trouble? Right? Just then a young man who had purple hair and green eyes walked up to them. He said hello to Teacher Lu and Elder Hong. Lu Sen asked him what brought him here. Teacher Wang replied, had they heard the news about the Education Bureau? Lu Sen asked in surprise, what news? Teacher Wang said didn't they know? He continued that Elder Shang was removed from office and it was the order issued by the teachers' union. Teacher Lu Sen and Elder Hong was shocked, asking what happened. Teacher Wang said he heard that Elder Shang framed another teacher. But another said that he was unfair when he held the Enlightenment Will trial. In any case, it was discovered by the teachers' union. He is now dismissed. Lu Shen thought that Chao Xiong applied for the Enlightenment Will trial today. Are the two things related? Lu Shen asked which teacher was framed and which teacher's doing was this. Elder Hong also wanted to know who has taken down Elder Shang with the help of the teacher union. Elder Hong continued that Elder Shang was the director of the Office of the Academic Affairs. He has a very strong backing. Many elders from the teacher union are close friends with him. It must have been no easy feat to take him down. Teacher Wang stroked his chin and said he heard that it was the good-for-nothing, Teacher Zhang Xian. Everybody was shocked. Zhu Hong with his beaten face thought it's Mr. Zhang again? Lucian was in disbelief, thinking that Teacher Zhang made his student withdraw from his lessons under his guidance. His students beat up the number 4 among the freshmen into a pulp. Elder Hong also wondered how this teacher was also able to cause a Supreme restaurant to crash after having a meal there. And now he also took down Elder Shang. Everyone was wondering, is Zhang Xian truly the weakest teacher in the academy?